Good morning, everybody. Even if it's not morning, I don't care. So, today we're going to be cutting open this 7 horsepower pool motor and taking the copper out and mixing it with aluminum to make bronze. So, to do that, first I'll have to cut the thing open, which I've done here with my plasma cutter. I'm not sure what model it is, but yeah, enjoy that. So after I cut the motor open, I was left with this big steel sheath full of just the copper that I wanted. So my first inclination was to break open the steel sheath, which obviously wouldn't really work, as I learned through a lot of trial and a lot of error. But what I thought about was that I could cut off the kind of twisted ends of the copper and then pull the rest of the copper out, and that would be a lot easier, and that's what I ended up doing. So for your viewing pleasure, here's me not knowing how to film an angle grinder. After I was done pulling everything out, all there was that needed to be done was to melt it down and throw it into some little cupcake tin ingots just to get out all of the special sauce that they use to keep it from shorting out in the motor. The ingots came out pretty well. The next thing I needed to do after actually melting them down was just to find the yield. So I had a little bit of guesswork to be done because the steel from the inside of the cupcake tin kind of stuck to the outside of the ingot. But after that little bit of guesswork, I just needed to measure the yield. Aluminum bronze is usually around 8 to 11% aluminum by weight. So after I got the yield of copper, I needed to basically measure out 8 to 11%. I went with 11% just to really try to get that gold color to pop. But anyway, yeah, I needed to measure out 11%, and so I just put the ingots on a kitchen scale and waited for the result. So I ended up with about 1,270 grams of copper, which meant I needed around 130 to 150 grams of aluminum. Now, I ended up going a little lower than the 11% I thought I would, just because I couldn't really cut any more aluminum off of what I had. So it really ended up being about 10% aluminum. The amount of aluminum I ended up deciding on was about 134 grams, which seemed just fine in the little range that I had made for myself. So once everything was measured, there were only really 2 things left to do. For one, I didn't really like how the ingots the last time stuck to the bottom of the crucible, so I did a little looking, and it looked like the best way to prevent that from happening was just to coat the bottom of the mold you were using in something like a candle soot almost. So I ended up holding it over a citronella candle and just kind of collecting the smoke into a little layer. And then once that was done, all there was left to do was just to throw the aluminum and the copper into the crucible, melt it down, and pour it into more molds. And hopefully they'd end up being bronze. The candle soot worked. Now all I had to do was measure the yield. So it seems that in the final product I ended up losing about 124 grams. That's probably just to maybe oxidation, slag, anything I didn't pour out. But all in all, I'm really happy with this project. The bronze ended up looking great. I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for. That'll probably be a later video. But until then, stay safe, happy tinkering, and bye.